case you've forgotten, let me tell you just who the hell I am. I am the game. And with those epic words, the game was officially back. Hello, everyone. This is Warhawk Beyond 2040, bringing to you another edition of the Wrestling Discussion Series. And January 7th, 2002 marks 23 years ago that history was made when Triple H made his triumphant return as a babyface on Raw in Madison Square Garden to a massive pop. And for today's special edition, I am going to be discussing the success and failures of Triple H's 2002 babyface run from January 2002 to July 2002. So prior to Triple H tearing his quad in May 2001, Triple H was one half of the two-man power trip with Stone Cold Steve Austin, and they were two of the biggest heels ever in the company, backed by Triple H's father-in-law, Vince McMahon, and his wife, Stephanie McMahon. And Stone Cold held the WWF title, Triple H held the Intercontinental title, and they also held the tag team titles as well. So they were in control of everything. And Triple H was on the roll of his career until he tore his quad during a tag team title defense on Raw the night after Judgment Day 2001 against the number one contenders, Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit. Now, obviously, nobody knew at the time that Triple H had got injured. It wasn't until 2 days after we learned that he tore his quad and he was going to be out of action for at least 4 to 8 months. It turned out to be much longer than that. He was out for the rest of 2001 for a total of 8 months, and he missed the entire invasion angle. Now, prior to Triple H getting hurt, it looked like they were definitely teasing a babyface turn for Triple H. After Triple H lost his Intercontinental title to Kane in a brutal chain match at Judgment Day 2001, thanks to a mistake by Stone Cold Steve Austin, who accidentally hit Triple H with a chair. This allowed Kane to pick up the win after a chokeslam. And Triple H and Stone Cold butted heads, and Triple H said to Austin, "It was your mistake that cost me the Intercontinental title. Now, you still have your WWF title because of me, because I don't make mistakes." So it looked like they were definitely teasing a breakup with Stone Cold and Triple H. But unfortunately, we would never know what the plans were going to be, as Triple H, as I mentioned, tore his quad and was out of action for the rest of the year. I did hear a story that the plan was for the two of them to break up. Triple H would turn babyface and he would challenge Stone Cold for the WWF title at SummerSlam. Now, the idea at the time, anyway, a babyface Triple H going up against a heel Stone Cold was a very strange dynamic. I try to picture that in my head, because for most of their existence, Stone Cold and Triple H have always been violent enemies. Triple H was the heel, Stone Cold was the face. So the idea of those two switching roles just sounded bizarre to me, because Triple H, for most of his existence since debuting in 1985, he has always been a heel. Apart from one run as a babyface where he took over the leadership role of DX from Shawn Michaels the night after WrestleMania 14. And he was a babyface from April 1998 all the way up to March 1999 when he turned on DX at WrestleMania 15 and joined Vince McMahon's corporation to become the biggest heel in the company. So the idea of Triple H as a babyface, I wouldn't say was impossible, but it just seemed a bit far fetched because, we've known this guy as a bad guy for so long, and I couldn't really imagine the fans cheering him over Stone Cold. It's just something that I couldn't really envision in my head. And even at the time when Triple H was a babyface as the leader of DX, he got good pops. He got quite good reactions from the fans, but they were nowhere near the level that Stone Cold and The Undertaker, and even The Rock for that matter, when he was getting hot, they weren't quite on the same level. Triple H always did get a good reaction when he was part of DX, but they paled in comparison to the big names that I mentioned already. So throughout 2001, Triple H trained, rehabbed, you name it. He was doing everything he can to heal up and come back better than ever. And there was a promo in December 2001 for Vengeance, which showed Triple H was ready to make his return, and it looked like he was going to be coming back at the pay per view. Unfortunately, that did not happen. Triple H did not make any appearance at Vengeance 2001. I think I heard somewhere that there was an idea of him doing a run in during the main event, and he would stare down either Stone Cold or Chris Jericho. None of that happened. Nobody showed up. The reason for that was he wasn't cleared to return, but he was booked and scheduled to appear on Raw on the January 7th edition in Madison Square Garden. Now, I remember thinking to myself that, okay, what Triple H are we going to see here? Is he going to come back as a babyface? Or is he going to come back as the evil heel that we all love to hate? Me and my best friend, we recorded it, we watched it together, and I never forget that moment when Motorhead's music hit for the first time. The whole place went absolutely mad. Madison Square Garden exploded. And I still remember it like it was yesterday. The music just got drowned out by the pop. I couldn't even hear Triple H's music. And when he finally came through the curtain, the place just went even more crazier. Triple H was back. He looked bigger, badder, and better than ever. He really bulked up. He just looked like a monster in that leather jean jacket. I just thought to myself, holy smokes, Triple H looks like a monster. And I remember my best friend screaming, look at the shape he's in. I just couldn't believe it. He just looked like a tank. And you could hear the fans, you know, they were so happy. Whether they loved him or hated him, you could really feel the passion, the love, the respect. They were so happy to see this guy back. And the interesting thing about Triple H is at the time he got injured, he was probably the most hated wrestler in the business. He left as a heel, and then 8 months later, he comes back as a conquering hero. And, for Triple H to injure his quad and still continue the match for 5 more minutes, whether you liked him or you didn't, you have to admire and respect not only his toughness, but his sheer commitment to his craft. You know, for him to carry on while still hurt is a true testament to just how tough Triple H really is. And the fans just let him have it. They were just going absolutely nuts. And me and my best friend, we were so happy to see him back. And I'm not going to lie, I missed Triple H. You know, when you miss someone who was the biggest heel in the company, that shows you how good he was, no pun intended, at what he does. So here he is, back bigger than ever as a babyface. And, he cut that promo. The fans were just cheering him. They wouldn't even let him speak at one point. It was just an incredible moment. And, Triple H has had some pretty good returns, but that return in Madison Square Garden could very well be his best ever. And the pop he got, he's got a lot of good reactions, but I don't think any will ever top the reception he got the moment he walked out on Raw in Madison Square Garden. So Triple H declared that he was going to be in the Royal Rumble match, and the moment for me that cemented him as a babyface was when he beat up Kurt Angle after Kurt Angle interrupted him. Triple H delivered the pedigree, and anytime you beat up a goofball like Kurt Angle, you're going to get cheered. So, Triple H had no problem there in that department. And it was official. Triple H was a babyface. Now, Triple H as a babyface was something, as I said before, we had seen it already when he was part of DX, but not like this. Triple H as a babyface, now one of the top guys in the business. It was new, it was different, and it was very interesting, and it changed the whole dynamic. At one point in 2002, at least for the first 3 to 4 months, we had Stone Cold, The Rock, and Triple H as baby faces. Now, during the entire Attitude Era, Stone Cold and The Rock were always the two top baby faces in the business, and Triple H was the biggest heel in the business. So to see them all on the same side, not literally on the same side, like teaming up, but all of them now, the dynamic, all three big names were baby faces. It's like nuts. If you had told me prior to that, oh, Triple H will be a babyface and on The Rock, I would say, no chance. Not going to happen. Triple H is a heel for life. No chance. And then on the other side, you had Kurt Angle, Undertaker, and Chris Jericho were his. How did that even happen? It's just crazy. It's amazing how one person turning, whether they turn face or they turn heel, just completely changes the whole dynamic. It's amazing. So Triple H was a huge part of the Royal Rumble 2002 build-up. He pedigreed the Big Show and he stared down the Undertaker, and it was quite clear that Triple H was to win the Royal Rumble match. He would get into a brawl with Stone Cold. He would even have a brief reunion when the two of them teamed up on SmackDown to face Booker T and Kurt Angle. No one even mentioned that they were tag team champions before. They should have done, but they didn't. And Triple H went on to win the Royal Rumble match after eliminating Kurt Angle, and that would reignite their old rivalry. And we would see this time Triple H the babyface, Kurt Angle the heel. The last time these two faced, they were both heels, which was even more weird. So now both sides were on equal paths, so to speak. And around this time, Triple H would further cement his newfound babyface run when he broke up with Stephanie McMahon. And this led to kind of like a War of the Roses type of feud. And Stephanie would screw Triple H at No Way Out 2002, helping Kurt Angle become the number one contender. Triple H would regain his number one contender spot back. So they would trade it with each other a couple of times before Triple H finally got the definitive win and go on to WrestleMania 18, where he would face Chris Jericho for the WWF Undisputed title. the same guy who was a big part in putting Triple H on the shelf. Now, this feud with Jericho and Hunter, it was okay, but it was really about him and Stephanie. Jericho was just like the third wheel. Poor Jericho. So Triple H and Jericho would face at WrestleMania 18. The match itself was not that great through no fault of theirs because they had to follow The Rock versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan, which for me was the best match of the entire show. Nobody was going to follow that. And for Hunter and Jericho to go on last after Hogan and Rock, I feel so sorry for them. And it wouldn't be the last time that Hunter was in that position. About as 7 years later, in 2009 at WrestleMania 25, Triple H and Randy Orton had to follow Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. Oh my god. Not funny. Not one bit. So, Triple H defeated Chris Jericho to become the WWF Undisputed Champion. He pedigreed Stephanie McMahon for good measure, and Triple H's comeback story was completed. The game was back on top, and he won in the main event at WrestleMania. It's funny because Triple H, a couple of years before, he retained the title in the main event, becoming the first heel ever to walk out of WrestleMania, still the world champion. Fast forward a couple of years later, Triple H walked out of WrestleMania 18 as a babyface and winning the world title. It's funny that I'm not sure how many wrestlers have done that, won the main event as both a face and heel. I'm sure there probably is a couple of guys who've done that, but I can't think of many, to be honest. But yeah, it's interesting that. It's quite an interesting little fact there. So after Triple H helped get Stephanie McMahon fired after he pinned her in a triple threat match, which had the stipulation that if Stephanie McMahon was pinned, she would be forced to leave forever, which she did. So now Triple H was in a very strange position. He was one of the only big baby faces left because Rock was gone to make another movie. Stone Cold was still around, but he was pretty much on his way out. He would walk out of the company a couple of months later. And you had Hulk Hogan. He was now a babyface after he, you know, left the NWO, not of his own accord, obviously. And he was now back to being the Hulkster, Hulkamania, back in the red and yellow. Now, this is where I wouldn't say a failure as such. This wasn't really a failure. I felt that when Triple H won the title, he was still over like gangbusters. But I think by now, everyone was pleased to see him back. Everyone was happy he won the Royal Rumble. Everyone was happy, he won the title at WrestleMania. But I felt by this point after WrestleMania 18, his not popularity, but I feel that things were starting to cool off a bit with the fans. He wasn't as hot as he was when he came back. He still got big pops. He was still getting great reactions, but I think I wouldn't say the pops were dropping, but I think things were starting to cool off a little bit. So fast forward to Backlash, Triple H would drop the title to Hulk Hogan, which for me was completely stupid because Hunter had just won the title and now he's got to drop it to Hogan the following month. I get it, it's Hulkamania. Vince obviously wanted to take full advantage of that whole wave of nostalgia by giving Hogan a run with the title one last time. I get that, but I feel that Triple H should have had at least a 2 month run and then drop the title. He just won it 4 weeks earlier, and now he's got to drop it to Hogan. The match itself was crap. Yeah, two of the biggest egos: Triple H versus Triple H, Hunter Hearst Helmsley versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Who's going to put the other one over? Well, you know, Triple H may be the game, but Hulk Hogan is Hulk Hogan. And if it doesn't work for him, brother, it doesn't work. You're not going to out politic the master. Sorry, Hunter. Love you, but Hogan's Hogan. So after Triple H dropped the title to Hogan, he did show signs of being a heel, but I look at that as Triple H just being himself. And, the fans are really behind Hulk Hogan. So there was no tease of a heel turn there. But I knew in the back of my head we would see the old Triple H back one day. Not sure when, not sure how, but I thought it won't be too long before Triple H is back to his cerebral assassin ways. So Triple H would go on to feud with Chris Jericho, which would culminate in a Hell in a Cell match at Judgment Day 2002, which was excellent. It was a great Hell in a Cell match. Hadn't been one since Armageddon 2000, so that makes it almost, nearly 2 years, almost a year and a half. So it's quite a while. Great Hell in a Cell match. The pedigree on top of the cell. Ouch. Headache. Poor Jericho. And then Triple H faced The Undertaker at Insurrection 2002 in London, which was really good. I thought it was a really good match, one of their better matches, I think. And then he would face The Undertaker again for the Undisputed title at the King of the Ring. Yeah, not their best. I think it was one of their worst. It went on for too long, very boring, very slow, very plodding. The only thing that saved the match really was Rock's involvement, but yeah, it wasn't a great match. And Triple H, was still a babyface, but I feel Triple H as a babyface by this point was slowly starting to get a little bit stale. And I got the sense that Triple H wasn't feeling very comfortable being the babyface. I know he's always said many times that he prefers working as a heel. He doesn't like being a face, but he was a great babyface. But I could sense that things were starting to get a little bit stale because around this time he was on SmackDown and he was mixing it up with different guys. He had a little tuffle with Edge. Triple H did show some heel tendencies, but obviously he didn't turn. But I think they were teasing something with him and Edge, but I don't think Edge was ready to be in that position yet to have a big program with Hunter. But, they still teased it. So Triple H was injured. He had injured his arm, so he was out for a little while. And then we would see him and HBK reunite at Vengeance 2002 after the NWO was pretty much disbanded by Vince, and Triple H was now in that position, still a babyface, where he would go with Eric Bischoff's Raw or stay on SmackDown and work for his now ex-wife Stephanie McMahon. And obviously, we know what happened. Triple H chose to go on Raw, and he would turn heel the next night after he pedigreed Shawn Michaels during a DX reunion, and that pretty much brought it to an end for Triple H's babyface run. And I enjoyed it. I did enjoy Triple H's babyface run. The first 3 to 4 months were hot. I mean, he was over the pops he was getting. But I think by around, I'm going to say, not Backlash, not Judgment Day. I'm going to probably say around King of the Ring time. He was still over.
but I feel that the babyface run was starting to get stale a little bit, and it was time to turn heel once more, which he did. Which he did in the end anyway on Raw, and we all know what happened after. So, in terms of the success and failures of Triple H's 2002 babyface run, overall, I'm going to say it was a success. It was, for the most part, pretty successful. There wasn't many failures. The match quality was not that great. I think he missed a step because of his injury. He wasn't putting on the great matches he was before. The match he had against Kurt Angle at No Way Out 2002 was great, but I put that more down to Angle than him. The Hell in a Cell match against Chris Jericho at Judgment Day 2002 was excellent. The match he had against Jericho at WrestleMania 18 was poor, but then again, they had to follow Hogan versus Rock. Well, you're not going to follow that. And the match he had against The Undertaker at the King of the Ring 2002 was terrible. And that's coming from someone who's a big fan of The Undertaker and Triple H. Just wasn't that good. But his entire babyface run was pretty entertaining. Some cool moments. Him breaking up with Stephanie McMahon was a great moment. Him win the Royal Rumble was a legendary moment. Him winning the title at WrestleMania 18 was fantastic. And just to see him teaming up with Stone Cold and The Rock as babyfaces was weird. It was good, but it was just weird. It was just something I never thought I'd see. But overall, I would say that his babyface run was a complete success. I think, in all honesty, as great a babyface Triple H is, he's so much better and more natural as a heel. And I think he would be the first to tell you that as well. He works better as a heel. Obviously, he would turn face again, but that wouldn't be till a few years after. He had quite a long run as a heel, but yeah, his 2002 babyface run was fun. I did enjoy it, and it was successful. Not many failures. I can't think of any failures. I think the only failure I would say was the match quality was a bit of a letdown. But the rest of it, the promos, the segments, all on point. They were all great. And there was some funny moments as well. But yeah, overall it was a complete success. I have no issue whatsoever. So that's going to be it from me. I'm going to wrap this up now. What did you guys think of Triple H's 2002 babyface run? Did you enjoy it? Were you pleased to see him back? What was your favourite moments from his 2002 babyface run? Did you enjoy the War of the Roses feud with Stephanie McMahon? Did you enjoy his feud against Chris Jericho? Did you like it when he won the Royal Rumble 2002 match? What was your favourite match during his babyface run? Was it his No Way Out 2002 match against Kurt Angle? His Hell in a Cell match against Chris Jericho at Judgment Day 2002? And did you look at Triple H's babyface run as a success or as a failure? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Wrestling Discussion Series. So until then, take care, everybody, and stay safe. And once again, as always, much appreciated. Thanks for listening.